spiritual values, moral issues, government, economy, education, work, responsibility. What we think about these depends on our worldview. Now, VCY America presents Worldview Radio with Brannon Howse.
Welcome. Glad you're with us. All right, so we're going to do part 2 today with Patrick Wood on his book, The Final Betrayal. The Final Betrayal. I was up till pretty late night before last reading it, and we brought you part 1 yesterday. Maybe we could recap real quick. Basically, what we're saying is President Trump is not running the same term he was running the first time. The term 2.0 is very much loaded up with the tech bros, and he seems to be going all in. Then you have, of course, J.D. Vance, who was, according to all the work and research done by Patrick Wood and others, J.D. Vance was set up in the financial world by Peter Thiel and then lobbied President Trump very hard. It sounds like maybe Don Jr., I've read, Peter Thiel, Tucker Carlson, to take J.D. Vance, even though he's on video saying some horrific things about Donald Trump. I mean, just horrific things. And yet he gets on the ticket. And now the premise of the book is the MAGA movement is being betrayed. What is being put in is basically to replace the Constitutional Republic and give us a CEO, kind of really what Donald Trump is, a CEO who I'm sure gets very frustrated as a CEO. I mean, he's 80 years old, isn't he, or 79? So he's spent the bulk of his life calling the shots, making the decisions. Comes to Washington the first term, and he kind of found out what it's really like. But you could see where a guy like him would be very open to the ideas of these guys, because in his mind's eye, they keep disrupting my plan because they get in the way. It'd be great just to be the CEO, the king, if you will. But we know that there are guys around Trump, like Larry Ellison, who have said they want to open a file on every American. There's been the talk of the RAGE. That's an acronym for getting rid of basically government civil servants so that everything is now done by computers. I think what we're talking about here, folks, is really kind of a China-like system, social credit scores. Then you roll to digital currencies, and then you are in a dystopian society. There will be no freedom. It will be chosen as to what freedoms you're allowed to practice and to what level, what extent. And so Patrick's work and research basically says, look, guys, the MAGA movement is being betrayed. And you can wake up and see it now and try to stop it. Or you can find out 5 years from now or less and then say, oh, we got duped. We got taken in. If I'd only known. You know, that's the common phrase that was used by the guys that came out of the POW camps of North Korea. When they came out and the historians, the doctors, the experts, the military professionals, the guys that were experts in brainwashing and psychological operations said to them, this is what they did to you. This is how they were doing it. This is how they were doing it. These were the tactics that they were using to demoralize you, to cause you to stop resisting and to believe the lies, which you were not able to refute because you didn't know the truth. And the common response by those POWs of the Korean War, this is in my documentary, Brainwashed America Part 1 and Part 2. You don't need to buy it. It's in the vault, worldviewtube.com/vault. Their common response was, well, if we had only known, if we had only known. And so that's really where we're at now. You can either learn it now, know now, or learn it after the fact when it's too late. Now, before we go to Patrick Wood, I do want to bring something up to you. If you guys go to worldviewreport.com, that's your daily aggregated news site, worldviewreport.com, you might have to use the old Control F because I put a lot of stories on worldviewreport.com today. A lot. I updated a lot of stories. So you might need to do the old Control F and put in the word creepy, CREEPY, Control F and the word creepy, and it'll bring you pretty quick to the article that's way on down the page. And here it is. Super creepy. The world ahead of 2026. Economist magazine cover signals war, pestilence, and financial collapse next year. Now, The Economist magazine, I'm pretty sure Patrick Wood can tell us what he knows about that, but this is a magazine that is really kind of run by a lot of the globalists. But the globalists seem to like to tell us what they're going to do, don't they? And I showed this on television last night, and I have to tell you guys about it here today on radio and television, because I did not study it as closely as maybe I should have before I went on the air. And then when I went on the air and I was zooming up on it and looking at it, I thought, oh, wow, look at that. And that is when you have the globe on their cover of the Economist magazine, The World Ahead 2026. It's a globe, and it has a couple tanks, big tanks on the left, the right, military tanks. It's got two swords crossed in the middle. That's Islam, folks. That's the crossed swords you see on the Islamic flags, right in the dead center. Are they trying to tell us they are expecting a terrorist attack or a global terrorist attack? That's kind of ironic, isn't it? Right on the center. And it's the backdrop of the two swords is an economic crash. What are they telling us? And there are syringes, like maybe a new pandemic. There's missiles all over the place. But the one that really caught my attention was the one on the right corner, right top. It would be the left, actually, if you're looking at the screen, top left corner. It is a cargo container ship with the cargo containers all stacked up on top of each other. And out of the side of the cargo containers are being fired missiles. And it gets even more ominous. There's a satellite orbiting the Earth, and you can see the signal going from the satellite down to the cargo containers. Now, folks, in 2018, can I say that date again? 2018 is when I released my documentary, Sabotage. And in that documentary, I had a lot of details and a lot of pictures and a lot of videos detailing the Club K cargo system, the Club K cargo missile launching system. At the time, you could buy them. They were manufactured in Russia for about $10 million. And I showed video footage of one of them on display at some kind of fair or carnival. And with the command from a satellite, the lid can lift up on this cargo container. Think about the cargo container that you see on the back of railroad cars or the back of a semi-truck. And they're stacked on cargo ships. And they can come into the harbor of the, let's say, the Gulf of America. And then they get a satellite command, and the lid lifts up, and up pops anywhere from 2 to 4 silos, of which missiles can then be fired, and they can have nuclear missiles on them, small, compact nuclear missiles. And I go into details on that, being the little beach ball, as they called it, developed by one of the scientists tied to Saddam Hussein, who's now tied back to one of these families who's running some of the according to numerous news reports, running some of the cargo container ports in America. What could possibly go wrong? Apparently, all of this got through when the financial firm or the financial agency inside the Treasury Department was shut down for a period of time. And this got through along with, I guess, the Uranium One deal to Russia. Remember that? FISA, I think that was the acronym. And so since 2018, I have warned about the dangers of Club K cargo missiles. And then on the cover of The Economist magazine, The World Ahead 2026, there it is. Make of it what you will, my friends. Make up what you will of it. I have no idea. I just find that awfully fascinating. I mean, it's one thing to have a cargo system, right? It's another thing to have a satellite sending it a signal. Isn't that something? Well, let's go to Patrick Wood about this. Patrick, welcome back. Let's get into your book. But what do you make of what I just shared?
I'm looking at it here on myself on my screen. I blew it up big time so I can see every detail. It's interesting to me, all those pills that are all over this image, is not in one corner or another, but what's with all the pills? Red and white pills, most of them are, some of them are other colors. They're all scattered all over the picture.
Yeah, I don't know. And it makes you wonder, what are they planning, right?
I know.
CFIUS, that was the acronym of, I don't know what I said a while ago, but CFIUS was the name of that group that was shut down. That's supposed to go through those kind of things to make sure these kind of deals don't go through with these potential deals that compromise national security. But what do you make of the Club K cargo there? Missiles coming off that cargo ship, and it's getting a direct signal from a satellite. Don't you find that kind of intriguing?
Indeed. And the missile is targeted to the Cape, of course. 250 years, that would be the United States for sure.
Yeah.
All these things, all these attacks are focused on the United States. That's the way I would read it.
And look at the cross swords, the Islamic cross swords right in the center.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, some kind of message is being sent here. That's for sure.
For sure. Yeah.
I thought I'd bring that up. Well, let me ask you in that vein, how will a crisis, a terrorist attack, and for television, Logan is showing the B-roll footage from my 2018 documentary where I showed how those Club K cargoes, boxcars can be put on ships, big ships, small ships. And we have no defense system. We don't have an iron dome like Russia. Like Israel. We don't have an iron dome like that. So how could a terrorist attack be used to justify putting a file together on every American, digital ID, biometrics? How could that be exploited? You know the old quote I love to give from 1984 from the book by his name will come to me. It's called The Power to Lead. James McGregor Burns. He said the founding fathers have been too smart for us, too shrewd for us. Frail tinkering in bridges won't get it done. The only way we can get the American people to go where we want them to go is under a stupendous national and economic crisis. Is that what maybe the tech pros are waiting on?
They probably are waiting for something like that, but it may play out differently because apparently at this point, we're going to collapse under our own weight. I don't think anybody necessarily has to send missiles to us to destroy us or, more pandemics, whatever. We're almost ready just to collapse under our own weight. So,
my wife came walking across the studio, so I had to say something to her, and I didn't know if I was unmuted. I'm now unmuted, to the chagrin of many. Anyway, that's where we're going to pick up when we come back. All right, guys, the final betrayal, and really, last night was kind of, again, timing is interesting. Did you see who was at the White House with the Saudi prince, who I guess is now going to give $1 trillion to the U.S.? Oh, we'll talk about that. Don't go away.
News is moving faster than ever, and so are we. Worldview Tube brings you 24/7 live stream coverage, and now, real-time alerts when it matters most. Once you have the Worldview Tube app installed, exit the app and navigate your way to Settings. In Settings, locate the tab labeled Notifications. Select the Notifications tab. Scroll down until you locate the Worldview Tube app icon. Select the tab, and here you can turn on and customize your notification experience for the Worldview Tube app.
Now I want to know when I'm muted and when I'm not muted.
News doesn't wait, and neither should you. Turn on push notifications
so now I'm back to black.
To stay informed. Every headline as it happens.
You're watching Worldview Tube, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts of Brannon House.
Worldview Radio, website worldviewradio.com, worldviewradio.com. I want to go to page 61 in your book, Final Betrayal, Patrick. Nick Land. Nick Land. I'm gathering he is a British philosopher, as you write, and former academic at the University of Warwick, where he co-founded the Cybernetic Culture Research Unit in 1995. Tell me about him, and how does this Nick Land, how does he come into play with these other guys, the tech bros, Peter Thiels, and et cetera?
A real piece of work in my opinion. I think he's probably taken too much drugs over his lifetime. But he's a philosopher, certified. He has a PhD in philosophy. Curtis Yarvin does not, by the way. You'd call Yarvin armchair philosopher. that could include us as well, I suppose. But Nick Land is a philosophy professor, and he came up with this idea of the Dark Enlightenment, and that was basically his idea in the first place. So this crossed the pond and got picked up by Curtis Yarvin. So you can almost see them in parallel, where Land is feeding stuff to Yarvin, who's feeding it to Peter Thiel. And so we have to mention him because he's part of history at this point. And Nick Land is the guy that came up with this concept of accelerationism. That means you take technology and you speed it up, make it break things, and then you pick up the pieces after that. When I was a kid, we had this game called 52 card pickup. You probably played it as well. So, hey, throw them all in the air, and then good luck picking them up. That's basically their idea with accelerationism. We see all these people, the tech bros in America, have picked up this theory. You see it in Mark Andreessen's works and out of his mouth as well. Accelerationism. We see it in even in MAHA. That's Make America Healthy Again, right? Mm-hmm. Well, there's the flip side of that is MABA. That's Make America Biotechnic Accelerant, MABA. Where the derivation of acceleration is in that word, accelerant. It's everywhere today. This was a philosophy that was picked up by, for instance, Mark Zuckerberg, when he wrote, I think it was could have been maybe 2010, 11, something like that. He said, if you're not moving fast enough to break things, you're not moving fast enough.
Wow.
So, it's just like,
so let me stop right there. What they're saying is they're going to deliberately break stuff and then take advantage of the chaos.
Yes, exactly.
Well, in fact, you get to that in your book, if I may. Flip over to page 76 of your book. And by the way, let me just mention real quick before I forget, page 63, you say that this Nick Land filters everything through a Darwinian prism. So he's into Darwinian evolution, right? So obviously he believes in societal evolution as well, that we can't stay stuck. We've got to keep moving and evolving, which of course is why many of them are into the idea of outlawing any resistance to homosexual marriage, right? We can't be stuck with the old primitive ways, they would say, of marriage just being one man and one woman. We've got to have societal evolution going on. So I write about that in several of the books over the years, warning people that these people are into Darwinian evolution, but they want to apply it to society, to law. Society evolves, morals evolve, the law evolves. They believe in spiritual evolution. Of course, your New Agers believe in that. You're going to go be a part of the spirit world. You become a spirit or master guide. Eventually, you can evolve to become a part of the great nothing. That's, from my first book in 1990 on the New Age movement. But you do talk about the fact that, quote, page 76, when employment benefits run out and poverty spreads to the unemployables, that's an interesting from the deplorables to the unemployables. That's kind of an interesting spin there. When the benefits run out to the unemployables and poverty spreads to them, the government will try to set up a universal basic income scheme, which, by the way, a week or two ago, guys, I said that when these young white American males spend a lot of money going to college, come out with a lot of debt, they can't find a job, they get passed over by people that have a darker skin tone because we have to be involved in equity and diversity, and they may be more qualified, and they can't buy a house. They're struggling. They're back in their parents' basement after spending all that time and energy getting a degree that's not serving them. And now I said, guess what happens? That's a typical communist tactic, is to make sure you grab the children of the middle class. So you have to make them become disenfranchised by or with the capitalist system. Have them turn sour on the capitalist system. If you can't beat them, join them. Now, I think the audience knows I was talking about that like a week or two ago. I said, watch the backlash as kids that were considering themselves capitalist say, well, that system clearly is broken. It doesn't work. It's not capitalism, folks, what we've had for a long time, since 1913. So they can't blame it on capitalism, but they don't know this because they don't know history, because, of course, the schools aren't going to tell them that, because that would expose the plan. But they're now saying this week, we're now finding social media posts where young people are now saying, I'm done. I'm ready for universal basic income. I have no choice. I have no choice. So you write about the unemployables. The government will set up UBI. Tax revenues will crater as the labor market shrinks. So the government will have to figure out a way to pay people, not with debt-backed dollars, but in asset-based tokens that will be conjured up, by tokenizing national assets like the 780 million acres of land owned by the federal government. Foreclosures of homes, personal and business bankruptcies will also destroy debt, as the underlying assets are tokenized and transferred into portfolios of the cash-rich investment funds. Remaining mortgages and consumer debt will be turned into assets in return for the underlying property titles. Exactly how this will play out is uncertain, but the odds are rising that a forced nationwide default on mortgaged property could essentially wipe out debt altogether, transferring property ownership to the mortgage holders. This is you'll own nothing and be happy, I guess, by 2030. Their income stream would then be the rent collected from the occupants and not the interest collected. It would be easy to compensate the former owners for their remaining equity share by issuing asset-based cryptocurrency. So the owner's like, well, I'm going to lose this thing. I'll gladly pay rent. But yeah, wow, all the equity I built up, you're going to give it back to me in cryptocurrency that I can go spend. Yay, shopping spree. But then you say on page 77, this lack of vision explains why industry sources suggest thousands of custom bunkers have been commissioned globally, the majority going to wealthy individuals and celebrities. However, the subset explicitly built by tech oligarchs likely numbers in the dozens based on the receipts and the reported cases and interviews with bunker builders. Well-known figures with survival bunkers include Mark Zuckerberg, Sam Altman, Jeff Bezos, Peter Thiel, Palmer Luckey, Reid Hoffman, and Steve Huffman. There is a cone of silence around the location and ownership because non-disclosure agreements are required for all construction workers, contractors, suppliers, and maintenance personnel. If this doesn't sound like Make America Great, you have a lot of companies. That's kind of interesting when we put that in with the 2026 cover of what's ahead from The Economist magazine today. I mean, think about that. These fit together very well. All these tech pros are building bunkers.
Oh, they are. That's very disturbing. And they're talking more openly because journalists are asking them, do you have a bunker? and they'll spill the beans.